Welcome back to the Bourbon Note, everybody. I'm Ben. I've got a blind bourbon banger battle on the bar. It's batch versus barrel versus batch. Let's get into it. So for those of you that have seen my batch versus barrel videos in the past, where I do a batch product versus its single barrel counterpart, this is kind of a takeoff on that. I've done a couple of these. It's batch versus batch. Basically, I've got two batch products and a single barrel, all from the same brand. In this case, Old Forester, all 100 proof. So the reason I wanted to do this one in particular is I've already done the batch versus barrel with the Old Forester 100 and the single barrel, and much to a lot of my audience's chagrin, apparently, the Old Forester 100 proof batch product actually won. But I did say in that video that it was really a coin toss. They were so close. I think I said that I could do this 15 times and every other time I might come up with a different result. So those two were very close. So I wouldn't be surprised if I have different results this time. But I recently did a review of the Old Forester Bottled in Bond 1897, and I was really thrown off by the flavor profile that I got from it. It just didn't seem like it was standard Old Forester, and I'm a big Old Forester fan. There was something about it in that review that just kind of seemed a little bit off. It was good, but it felt off profile. And when I was filming that review, I was thinking maybe I'm just kind of having an off day here, maybe just, the palate's a little bit off or whatever. But I posted the review, and a lot of people actually said they had the same experience with this bottle in particular, the Bottled in Bond, that it was just a little bit different than all the rest of them. And so I wanted to do a batch versus batch to find out if maybe that was just, at least for me, a fluke when I did the review of this, or if it's a little more similar to these other products than I gave it credit for. And who knows, maybe it's not similar to the other two, and maybe it actually wins this. I don't know. So we're gonna get through it here. These glasses that I have are all mixed up. I don't know what is what. I've had a lot of people tell me that I should have the bottles off to the side when I do these, so it doesn't look like, one glass belongs to one bottle. But it looks dumb when there's 3 bottles. If there's 4, I can put 2 on each side. So anyway, here's how I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna go through the way I always do my blinds. I'm gonna nose my way through them. Then I'll come back and check in because I'm gonna fast forward through that. That gets a little bit boring to watch for you guys, I'm assuming. And then I'll get into the tasting. So let's get into the nosing. Please hold. So just a real quick initial nosing there. This might be a little harder than I thought.
That's what she said.
There is some differences between them. The contrast isn't as big as I would have maybe thought when I did the review of this 1897. I'm gonna go, so on my right here, I'm gonna go sample number 1, number 2, number 3. Number 1 is giving me the best kind of balance of sweetness that I really like. I feel like number 2 is a little more kind of oak and spice forward, and number 3 is kind of somewhere in between them. So it's really kind of I don't know. I feel like there's some similarities between 1 and 3 a little more. Number 2 on the nose so far is kind of standing out a little bit. But, in blinds, who knows? I mean, you get on the internet and you do a blind and you make any guesses or anything like that, you usually end up making a fool of yourself. So ask anybody who's been on the Trash Palette Challenge with Baker Drinks. Go like, comment, and subscribe to them. Anyway, I'm gonna get to the initial tasting here. I'll make my way through these, fast forward through it, check in just a second. So one of the things that's interesting when you do a blind is sometimes what you get on the nose is not what you end up getting on the palate. I feel like the one that kind of had the nicer balance of sweetness on the nose, I think now, which was glass number 1, I think now glass number 3, which was the one that was kind of in between the two, is kind of coming through with that nice sweetness that I'm liking on the palate. And then these two are kind of duking it out a little bit more in similarity maybe. I don't know. I don't have an order quite yet, but I'm getting an idea here. But yeah, I mean, things changed a little bit. Like the nose on these didn't, sometimes you pick like a first place, second place, third place on the nose, which I didn't really pick a place, but you kind of get an idea, and then that doesn't hold true on the palate. So that's kind of interesting on this one. So I'm gonna taste through these one more time. I mostly raw dogged those, but then I did get some water in between the next round of sips. So I'm gonna go through, sip these again, and see what happens. I'll get back to you with results in just a minute. Okay, so here's what I've learned from this blind. I do have my order, but what I have learned is I don't think that this one is maybe as far off profile as I gave it credit for. These are all really good. Again, I'm an Old Forester fan, and as I said, when I did the 1897, it just came across a little different that day. Like I wasn't getting the standard Old Forester profile. Now there is one of these that I'm getting a little less of it on this time, but sometimes that can just be the blind too, so who knows. But I am noticing that there isn't one that's just like a complete outlier that just doesn't, you know, taste like the other two. And so I think that this one is maybe a little more on profile than I gave it credit for in my review, so maybe I could chalk that up to, you know, just that day. But yeah, this is a little more difficult than I was anticipating, but what I'm interested in with these results is, like I said, when I did these two next to each other, the single barrel and the Old Forester 100, I said if I did this 15 times, I might come up with a different result every other time because they were very similar. And now adding a third one to the mix that, again, is not as far off profile as I was expecting one of them to be, I would say, considering the price ranges on these, you know, whichever one the Old Forester 100 is, it's holding its own because there's not a bad bourbon on this bar. I'm just going to go off of what I like about each individual one. And in this case, this one, what I'm putting in last place is glass number 2. It felt a little bit like an outlier, but again, who knows? It might be the 100. It might be the one I picked first place for these other two. But today it's coming across a little more spice forward. This one is. And on the nosing, the initial nosing, I had said that about glass number 2, that it was a little more spice forward. I said glass number 1 had a little more sweetness and glass number 2 is kind of in between them. Those flipped on the palate. So glass number 3, which is my winner, I think has a nice sweetness to it that I'm really liking today. And glass number 1, sorry, that's in second place is kind of in between the two of those. So to reiterate, last place is glass number 2, second place is glass number 1, and first place is glass number 3. For internet humiliation, let's find out what I picked. See if I have any consistency on my palate whatsoever. Probably not. So in last place, again, not a bad bourbon on this bar. I would rebuy any of these. The last place is... it is the single barrel. Okay, interesting. I haven't had the single barrel in a while. I remember it being very similar to the Old Forester 100, as I said. But in this case, I feel like the 1897 and the 100 that are the two left were a little more similar. So that's interesting. So the 1897 slid either into first place or in between the two of them. So let's go into the first place, because that by default will, of course, tell us our second place. The winner is... it is the Old Forester 100. This bourbon is just freaking unstoppable. So second place being the bottled in bond. Okay. Again, what I find interesting about that is I felt like this, the one that ended up being the single barrel, was a little more spice forward. This one, the reason I picked the one that I picked in first place is because it was the most Old Forester-like. It's the most of what I like about Old Forester. It really had that nice blend of sweetness with a little bit of that spice. I find Old Forester products typically have a really nice kind of molasses sweetness. They have a little bit of that banana note. Also a little bit of like an orange kind of citrus note to it. Not like an actual orange, but almost like orange flavor, like orange candy. It's very light, but there is an interesting blend of flavors going on with Old Forester that I just absolutely love. And the 100 just seems to have what I like best about Old Forester. You know, it may not be what you like best about Old Forester, but I find it interesting that the one that I thought was the outlier slid right in between two of them that I thought were close enough that I could have flipped a coin. I think on this blind, there's definitely much more distance between the Old Forester 100 and the single barrel than there was the first time I blinded them. But I did pick the Old Forester 100 to win yet again, and I don't know. This is one of my all-time favorite bourbons. I don't care if it's a $25 bottle. I absolutely love it. I love keeping this on hand. I will sip this neat all day long and absolutely enjoy it. So if you are a person that feels like you don't need to buy budget bourbons anymore, Brian, give Old Forester 100 a shot. I love how I just called out Brian there, but there's actually two Brians, both from New York, that don't really like budget bourbons anymore. So whichever one of you think that is, you know, go with it. It's both. So anyway, yeah, I was just, that's a little shout out to my friends over at Bourbon School and Buffalo Bourbon Enthusiast. So go check out both of those channels. Great channels, great people. So anyway, yeah, the budget banger coming slamming home with the win once again. So I will die on the hill that Old Forester 100 is just one of the best bourbons out there. Reasonably, I mean, I'm not going to put it up against, you know, George T. Stagg or something like that. I mean, just as far as like, you know, average, below average price, regularly available anywhere shelfer. As far as the budget thing goes, this thing will go up against a lot of bottles that are 2-3 times its price. I will die on that hill. So let's get into the blend. If you watch this channel, you'll know anytime there's more than one bourbon on the bar, we got to get into the blend. So let's get into it. Cheers. So I've said recently that a lot of my blends are not working out, even if it's blends of basically the same bourbon. Like I've done other flights where it's, you know, bourbons of the same brand, relatively same proof. And for some reason you blend them together, sometimes it doesn't pan out. This one panned out. This is like supercharged Old Forester. I love this. So if you've got, you know, a single barrel and these two bottles, try a 50-50-50 blend. That's bourbon note math. And see if you like it. But yeah, so the blend is great. Let me know in the comments what you think, folks. If you have these three, blind them against each other. See if you have a similar experience as me, because I know I got a lot of pushback when the Old Forester 100 beat the single barrel, but it did again this time. So, and you know, single barrels are, the reason they're fun is because they're all different. So they're not all going to be created equally. Maybe mine's just not as good as yours. I don't know. But it's still a damn good bourbon. Like I said, there's not a bad one on this bar. There's not a bottle here I wouldn't buy again. So anyway, one other thing for those of you that are still watching this video, just before recording this video, I hit the 5,000 subscriber mark, finally. So thank you to all of you ride or die folks that are in every single comment section on every video. I see you, I appreciate you. And thank you to all 5,000 of you, 4,950 of you that'll probably never see this part of the video. Still, thank you for being one of those 5,000 subscribers. And again, to all you ride or die folks that stick around until the end of the video, that always comment, that show up in the live streams, I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you very much. This has been an Old Forester blind bourbon banger battle on the bar, batch versus barrel versus batch. On the Bourbon Note, I'm Ben. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. We'll see you on the next one.